Do you wish to explode? Did you hear about how there was a weapon in TF2 meant for suicide bombing and think to yourself, I'm going to go on a kill streak with that? Did you read the title to this video and just want me to get to the point already? If you said yes to any of the following, I have the guide for you. How yinz doing? I'm Ian, and this is my TF2 How to Kill Streak series, where we look at the best and worst TF2 has to offer and I show you how to get a kill streak with it. Because everything is a bad idea until it works. Today, as you could tell from reading the title of this video, we'll be covering the caber. So without further ado, let's get into it.
God is great! God is great! God is great!
Is it racist to say that sounds better in Arabic?
The caber was added back in 2010 in the Australian Christmas update as part of the Expert's Ordnance set alongside the Lock and Load, and can be crafted using 2 scrap metal and a pain train. However, as always, I recommend either trading or waiting for a random drop if you wish to acquire this weapon for yourself. As for what the caber does, it's a grenade that you swing at your foes like a club, causing massive damage to both yourself and whoever you're hitting with it. As the description reads, a sober man would throw it. However, we're not playing a sober man. We're playing Travis de Groot, the Demo Man, the Black Scottish Cyclops who found a way to ferment his own bone marrow within the comics. Hell, I'm pretty sure this guy has more alcohol than blood in his veins, which would explain why this weapon has so many downsides attached to it. To start, this weapon cannot recharge or redeploy its explosive ordnance whatsoever, meaning after you throw yourself at an enemy and blow yourself up with the grenade, it's not going to recharge whatsoever. You'll have to go back to a spawn cabinet if you want the explosive damage to trigger again. This weapon also has a slower deploy and swing speed, meaning if you don't have this thing out and ready well in advance, it's not going to be able to help you get a kill in any situation. So if your plan with this weapon was to have it to be an oh shit weapon you pull out when you're low on health and decide to try to take out the enemy with you as you die, this thing will not serve you in that purposes. You're better off just shooting it with your grenade launcher at point blank. As most of you could probably already tell, this weapon has only one good use: suicide bombing the enemy team. And a while back, this was actually a rather effective tactic. However, since you could effectively suicide bomb the enemy medic in a single clean melee swing, what ended up happening is every single Demo Man in a competitive lobby ended up using the sticky jumper to kamikaze the enemy medic over and over again. This turned the entire metagame of TF2 go from charging Uber and protecting the medic to killing the enemy Demo Man before they can suicide bomb your team's medic. This became such a prolific issue that back in 2015, Valve decided to nerf this thing into the Shadow Realm by reducing its damage to the point where it's physically incapable of killing anyone at full health unless they're using a weapon that reduces their maximum health like the Big Earner or Sandman. This is because an explosive smacked to the face with the caber does exactly 124 damage to your foes, aka exactly 1 health short to kill light classes such as Scout and Sniper. Combine this with the fact that when you detonate the caber, you yourself are launched in the air ever so slightly while taking some decent damage, and you'll quickly find out that this weapon is basically useless at follow-ups. You get one big explosive attack that isn't guaranteed to kill anyone, and then you're just kind of a sitting duck for retaliation. Because of all this, you're best off not using this against foes who you know are at full health, making this an okay option for those of you who want to pick off players who are under heavy fire or heading towards a health kit, but I strongly recommend against using this thing against players who just got out of spawn. In normal games of TF2, your best bet to kill streak with this weapon is to actually use the sticky jumper to close the gap quickly between you and your potential targets, and then use the extreme mobility provided by the jumper to retreat back to spawn to refresh the caber's explosive ordnance, and then repeat the process. However, as previously mentioned, once the detonation goes off with the caber, you yourself will be launched in the air after taking some decent damage, resulting in everyone around you on the enemy team having a good chance to finish you off if the explosion of the caber itself doesn't kill you. Some of you might be considering the use of the shields, since they do provide explosive resistance. However, I've personally tested this, and the explosive resistance does not affect the caber's self-harm factor whatsoever. However, since the shield charge does do some decent damage, you can use it to offset the whole nerfed into the Shadow Realm issue that I mentioned earlier. Assuming, of course, TF2's janky melee registration doesn't screw you over, that is. Some of you might be considering to go full Caber Knight and use the booties alongside this thing. However, unless you're playing medieval mode, I strongly recommend against it. You see, going full Demo Knight is a high risk factor since anyone on the enemy team can easily just switch to Pyro and just air blast you to the point where you can't actually play the game anymore. Plus, restricting yourself to a melee only attack that causes self-harm in a game where everyone has a gun is less than conducive to getting a kill streak, to say the least. As a result, I honestly recommend using a grenade launcher at all times unless you're playing medieval mode where it isn't an option. As for which grenade launcher you want to deal with, the lock and load works best when you want to deal with sentries at a distance, the loose cannon works best when you want to not play seriously whatsoever and just want to go for the double dunks for the fun of it, the stock grenade launcher works best for those of you who like to rely on rollers and having your grenades bounce off walls and corners and such to weird angles to into the enemy team, whilst the iron bomber works best for those of you who want to land direct hits but still want to have the option for rollers to hit the enemy if you miss your shots, unlike the lock and load. Ironically, the most reliable method of getting a kill streak with this weapon I found was actually on medieval mode while defending last. What I did to do this was simply charge at the enemy team as they dogpile the last point, since the explosion can actually hurt those around me as well as the person I'm initially hitting, resulting in me getting some decent assists and kills and actually maintaining a positive KD ratio while on medieval mode. However, your results may vary depending on how much Huntsman spam you'll be having to deal with on the point whilst you attempt to replicate my results. All in all, I give the Caber a Valve Please buff out of 10. If the Caber's explosive ordnance could be refreshed without needing to backtrack to a spawn cabinet, and its base damage on an explosive hit was buffed by exactly 1 point of damage, it might actually become something we could use as a meme weapon once again. I mean, really, Valve, I get it. Being able to kill the medic in one clean suicide melee swing is not fair. However, killing a sniper in that way is. It's also hilarious, so please let me do that. That's all for now. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one, be sure to comment what weapons you want to see me cover in the future, and don't forget that I have polls in the community tab deciding what I cover next. I've been Ian, and this has been my TF2 How to Kill Streak Guide to the Caber. And stay tuned, the Holiday Punch is coming up next. Also, one last thing before I close out the video, I'm going to start streaming every Friday from now on, so keep your eyes peeled if you want to see that. I intend to use this as an excuse to both get through various games in my Steam library that I've been meaning to get around to but never have, as well as a way to interact with you, my audience, a bit more. So if that sounds like something any of yinz would be interested in, see you Friday. And with that, I'm Ian, and I'm signing off.